NFL, we have a couple big stories here, and one of which kind of breaking news this morning with all of the craziness happening around Georgia star Jalen Carter, one of the top prospects. I mean, literally going at the top of the draft, has been charged with reckless driving and racing in connection with a crash that killed a teammate and a recruiting staff member. And this happened literally right after the night of the national championship, or the next day. I can't remember if it was the next day or that night, but either way, now it's come out, and it's February now. We're like, oh, what happened? How did it take so long? They did some investigations, but based off of what the police found, they issued a warrant out for his arrest with reckless driving, charging in the racing connection. And what was happening is there was associated street racing at high speeds. There was some alcohol involved with the other car who was involved with all of this. Chandler LaCroix, who he was part of the other vehicle with the the whole incident, wrapping his car around two telephone poles before coming to a stop. Both people in that car ended up dying in that accident, which is just tragic. But now we're looking at everything that's coming out, and this is just a crazy situation. I mean, you don't really see this happen at the very top of the draft, like guys who, get themselves in situations like this. Supposedly they were reaching about 104 miles per hour shortly before the crash. So it's not exactly a safe situation by any means. But with this being said, this is just, first of all, prayers out to the people who passed away. I mean, that's its own thing. And that's, the big aspect of, trying to, make sure everyone's good on that front, right? But if you take this to the football side of the field, this guy was going to be a number one potentially pick or top 5 pick in the draft.
This incident happened in Lowell, Georgia. This is sad.
It is sad. Thank you, P3, for the bits. I can't remember where this took place, Scotty.
I believe it was in Georgia.
I want to say Georgia as well.
That's what football Mike said.
I'm gonna make sure, but I'm pretty sure they were back in Georgia. Yeah, no, definitely in Georgia.
Yeah. Welcome in, football wife. Welcome in, everybody. But yeah, it reminds you of the Henry Ruggs situation, P3. Yeah, a very talented guy that just made a bad decision here, and it's just tragic all the way around. Not only for this kid, but just mainly for the people who lost somebody in this tragic accident. Now, going back to this, there was some controversy about, I don't know if you heard this story, but Todd McShay, about, I don't know, a month ago, got a lot of heat, a ton of heat on the internet, on Twitter, on everything else about, kind of questioning some of the decisions and some of the off-field character issues going on with this athlete here, and
Jalen Carter,
with Jalen Carter, yeah. And he got a lot of pushback, and he was questioned a ton. But looking back in retrospect, all of a sudden you're looking at maybe there was something there. I don't know. I'm sure he's a great kid, just made a bad decision, and it's affecting his life and other people's lives. But crazy situation, Scotty.
Yeah, listen, awful timing. Literally, Jalen Carter was supposed to be in front of the press this morning at the Combine. It was scheduled to go. This news got released.
The one fool from the Chiefs.
There's no fools from the Chiefs. It's fine. Unless you're talking about driving and Andy Reid's son. Anyway, he was supposed to talk with the media at the Combine this morning.
Yep.
That got canceled. This news came out maybe 2-3 hours before he was supposed to be on the podium. So this is a guy that's a top 5 pick in the draft. This isn't like just a nobody. This is the first or second defensive player, probably at worst third defensive player to go off the board in this year's draft. Prior to this happening, I don't know if this changes it, but the reality is he was reportedly racing against this other car where a teammate ended up crashing. There was in the other car, there was also a female that was like that worked for Georgia football. She worked in like recruiting, I believe, or something. And they both passed away, which reportedly you talked about the 104 mile per hour. They were in a 40 mile per hour limit. Jalen Carter's come out today and said he's going to be exonerated of all this, that he didn't do his presser, which makes sense. Went back to Georgia to get this figured out. He says he's going to be exonerated. I don't want to jump to conclusions. I did see that he had a speeding ticket, Jalen Carter did, from like a couple months prior, going 89 in a 45. So he's known to speed. It's not out of the realm for him to go really fast.
And supposedly he's changed his story a handful of times after this too. People have.
He said he wasn't at the scene, and he said he wasn't there, and now the cops feel like he is, and that he lied about it. Listen, not that you should ever lie to the cops. I get why he did it. He was probably he's a young kid. He's terrified. He has his future in front of him, but. All of those things made me think about prior to doing what you're doing. Why are you speeding down? Like, I just don't understand some athletes that have everything in front of them, that were gifted with all this ability. Like, John Morant's trying to screw that up too. Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand why you put yourself in a situation that can lead to your future being hampered. It just shocks me.
Because they think they're higher than everybody.
It's just, I mean,
G-Girls like alcohol, Scotty. I know, but like, if I'm Chris, I don't know. Even me, if I'm drinking alcohol, that wouldn't be like I'm drinking. Now let's go get in a car and drive 100 miles per hour. That would never happen.
It's crazy, man. And
I don't know. Everyone's from different backgrounds. Everyone's different. Everyone has different ways to react. But like, we'll see what. I think this guy will still get drafted in the first round. He'd probably still be a high pick. I don't know what will come from this. Outside of, I mean, obviously he's not the direct result to this other car. He's not responsible for that other car and what they did. But he has a couple things that it just doesn't look good. So I don't know, man. It breaks my heart. It just makes me sad that these guys make the decisions they do sometimes.
Yeah. No, and it all comes back to just one or two things that they decide, and it's rough. It's rough. And so he's potentially affecting his future. I think he's still, again, the NFL tends to look at excellence and say, hey, you're talented. Let's see if we can turn things around and like give you that second chance. I mean, we'll see what they do with this kid. But Combine is coming up here, starting up, and what they call it, the Underwear Olympics, Scotty? And they so
love to see it.
Yeah.
We'll get some linebackers and D linemen tomorrow. Those are the first players to work out is tomorrow in the afternoon/evening, depending on where you're at. Linebackers and D linemen doing drills tomorrow.
Yeah. What up, Belly? How we doing, fellas? What's up?
Belly?
What's up, Ty? How we doing? Gifted with athleticism, not smarts, arrogance. Again, common sense is rare these days, says Football Wife.
Really is.
No accountability nowadays either, says G Girl. Yeah, it's just
You can't tell someone they're doing something wrong. You just have to figure out why they're doing something wrong and accept that and appreciate that.
Sometimes it takes something crazy to happen to some of these people to really just snap them into hey, like, this is dumb and this is.
And everything else I've read about Jalen Carter is great. Like, obviously he has this issue, but like, he's a great leader. He's a little more quiet, but he's still a good leader. He does stuff in the community. He does all these things the right way. So I don't think Jalen Carter's a bad guy.
Yeah.
I just think he made a bad choice if this is true, and maybe a couple more, and maybe, I don't know, like eliminate alcohol for a little bit. If that's what tips you over, it's not worth it. You have millions and millions and millions of dollars at stake. It's not worth it.
No. And everyone, even leading into the draft, even leading into any training, or training camps or anything else like that, like, I mean, just keep it low profile for a little bit. I mean, and it's not to excuse what I don't want you to do it ever, right? No one wants you to do these things to race down a street 40 mile per hour at 104. But it's like, this is the most pivotal time between your last season at Georgia and then going into the draft. I mean, you got to keep everything on the lowdown. Like, take your pals out of the equation, take your parties out, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So the combine is kicking off. So we will keep tabs on, there's always stuff that breaks on the combine of, like, the big dudes that run more like the fastest big dudes you've ever seen. And then, you have like all the crazy, you got the bench press, you got all the different like things they do out there that are kind of interesting to go see how these guys perform when it comes to just random events. So,
yeah. No, I mean, the NFL's done a great job of making the combine like an event.
Yeah.
Like, no one else watches anything like this in any other sport, but people watch the combine.
Yeah.
I bet more people watch the combine than the XFL this week.
Probably. I mean, you're probably not wrong. But next up, we have the story about Aaron Rodgers breaking his dark. He finally came out and he's doing an interview. It's just released on the Aubrey Marcus podcast on YouTube. If you haven't heard of that, I haven't either. It's an hour and 36 minutes long. He does interviews, by the way, with like the weirdest like outlets, I guess. But just a couple things that he took away, like a couple snippets I found, because I haven't listened to the whole thing. But I'll kind of read some of these and get your thoughts, because it is wild. So it says he encountered plenty of issues in isolation, but he was asked, like, what is it like? Because it was 4-night retreat, no light. And he was asked, did you struggle with anything? Like, how did you go to the bathroom and like wiping your ass and stuff? Like, and Rodgers opened up about this and he was like, oh, my dumps were super smooth. And he was like, he explained the diet consisted of giant salads, which created, an ideal situation for being, in a restroom without light. And he's like, I guess he was like, in my mind, he said they were all two wipers. Like, just opening up about everything. He added, though, that, when it came to, all of his retirement and all the things that came with that, he spent a full day thinking about what life would be like if he retired. Then he spent an entire next day dreaming about how life would be if he continued playing. And ultimately, when it all came down to it, he mentioned on this and to a couple other people in the media that he's planning on making a decision very, very soon. And it's going to be happening sooner rather than later, because it's better for all parties, including himself, to figure out the situation. Scotty, this is Football Wife says in the chat, is he the weirdest, most is he the strangest dude on the planet when it comes to like anything? Like,
I hate that we have to talk about this again.
I just torture you with it, man.
I hate. What else can we say about Aaron Rodgers? He's weird.
We know a lot about how his pooping habits now.
I think he's vaguely I think he's actually well spoken, and in some ways, I think he's actually smart. But in other ways, he thinks the problem is his ego gets in the way of his intelligence. I think he's intelligent, but his ego tells him to take this extra mile and like, let's get in a dark room and let's figure this shit out, and like everyone will pay attention to me, and like his ego is his biggest issue. And I don't know how he didn't see his ego in the dark. What the fuck was he doing for those 4 days? The ego should have taken up the whole room. Like,
it was deafening.
Did you see the weird post by Brandon Marshall though?
No. What did that?
Brandon Marshall, the former, NFL wide receiver, basically like went and posted on, I don't know, Instagram, I think. And it was like a tribute to Aaron Rodgers. Like, me personally, you're my favorite quarterback ever. Favorite, Aaron Rodgers. Congratulations on a phenomenal career. Which hinted to everyone else like, oh shit, Aaron Rodgers is retiring. I don't think Brandon Marshall knows anything or knows shit. But like, that was a weird post to make, man. A weird post to make, and I actually don't think he is retiring. Aaron Rodgers, I said a while ago, I think Aaron Rodgers probably would have retired if Tom Brady didn't. But the fact that Tom Brady did retire means he would go to the Hall of Fame the same year as Tom Brady, and he would get no attention. No one would care. No one would care that Aaron Rodgers is going to the Hall of Fame. I just don't see him retiring for that one reason, which speaks back to his ego. He is weird, but his ego is the biggest issue of all. He's bizarre. I don't know what the hell he's gonna do. I hope he decides quickly. I hope we don't have to talk about this a lot. What I hope he does decide is either retire or go back to the Packers, only because if he decides he wants to leave the Packers, we have to talk about where he's going. So we have to talk about him more, and that's what he wants.
He wants it.
Probably what will happen.
Yeah, I just, if we ever need super smooth dumps, we could always just go into dark and eat some salads.
I think I'm pooping just fine, Chris.
Ty, some would say silky smooth. Silky smooth. What's up, Chairman? Shout out to Chairman. Chairman has a baseball guest coming in on Friday, so make sure you go give Chairman some love and join him on Friday for his baseball guest talking some.
I think it's 6:00 Eastern time.
Go check it out. Let's see. Gee, girl, he used to be cute. I mean, he did have that whole like Con Air thing going at the beginning of the year. If you're into that too, some people were. I don't know.
Nick Cage. Was Nick Cage ever cute?
Nick Cage. I mean, he had the rugged look. He has 60 million reasons not to retire, and he's probably the only guy that won't matter. Belly, exactly. Dude loves himself a lot.
A lot.
Hall of Fame issue is a great point. I think that's very real.
Well, that's why you said it, Chairman, because we're the same person.
Ty, I want to see the washed up Aaron Rodgers on the Jets. I mean, that's one of the linked teams that people keep saying, but I mean, the Jets are linked to a lot of dudes.
I don't know. I don't know where else he'd go. It sounds like the Raiders aren't in the mix. Like, based off of McDaniel's presser, which could mean nothing, is like, we want to get a quarterback here that's going to be here a long time, which seems to rule out Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think McDaniels wants someone to be there a long time because he ain't going to be there.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is the last we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, and then it's going to get quiet again. But here's the thing: whenever it gets quiet, guess what happens?
He does something else.
And he goes on to like the Pat McAfee show, or he goes on to another thing and he says something and it gets people listening. So
he's like, I don't want attention, but have you ever heard of an other athlete and how their poops went, Chris? Or just Aaron Rodgers?
He's breaking barriers with...
He's the only one we know that had smooth poops over a stretch of time.
Yeah.
No one else. I've never heard about another bowel movement within the confines of an athlete ever.
We're always learning about something new in here.
Have y'all seen the NFLPA report cards?
I avoided those. Well, I mean, I avoided it after I saw the Chiefs. So
Yeah. After you saw how low they were.
Yeah, bullshit.
That's bullshit.
Super Bowl champs, get out of here.
Get out of here. You got the
Get out of here.
New York going on there.